Before Liwei could ask what Ming wanted at such a late hour, Ming stepped into the house uninvited, his eyes immediately drifting to Amara seated on the couch before returning to Liwei. Liwei, unmoved, asked what was going on and why Ming had suddenly appeared. Ming, his tone heavy, said he could not believe Liwei could be so heartless. He explained that while he understood if Liwei no longer wanted Yan, to publicly humiliate her was another matter entirely. Liwei stood still, his expression unreadable, and told him to get straight to the point. Ming moved closer, his words sharp. He confessed that he had intended to stay quiet after witnessing Liwei and Amara secretly holding hands at the recent gathering, only to spare Yan's feelings. But Liwei had crossed the line by walking around openly with love bites on his neck. Yan had seen pictures circulating online, and now she had locked herself in her room, threatening to hurt herself. Ming warned that she was having a breakdown at that very moment, and he feared she might do something irreversible. Liwei calmly told him that he had already explained things to Yan and hoped she would understand. But Ming pressed on, saying that Yan was the girl who had loved him deeply, the one who would do anything for him, the one who had waited all those years. Yet Liwei did not even protect her feelings. Ming argued that even if there was another woman in Liwei's life, he should have at least kept it private, instead of flaunting love bites for the entire world to see. He called it selfish. Liwei said nothing, simply watching as Ming spoke with increasing frustration. Ming stepped even closer and told him that if he still had a human conscience, he should go and talk to Yan, convince her not to hurt herself. Everyone had tried, but she refused to let anyone in. She only wanted to speak to him. Liwei, still steady, replied that going to her would make no difference. In fact, it would hurt her even more, because she would expect him to promise something he could never give, while his words from before still stood. Ming reminded him of their childhood friendship, of everything Yan had done for him, and pleaded with him to go. Liwei's eyes drifted toward Amara, and he walked towards her. Before he could say anything, Amara spoke up, telling him he should go because Yan needed him most at that moment. She admitted Ming was right. It would not be good if Yan did something reckless while he could have stopped it. Liwei's gaze lingered on her as he instructed her to wait for him and not go anywhere until he returned. Amara nodded. Without another word, Liwei grabbed his keys and left with Ming, leaving Amara standing there with guilt weighing heavily on her chest. She felt as though she was becoming the cause of another woman's suffering. She had never imagined that Liwei and Yan's bond ran that deep. Until that moment, she had assumed they were nothing more than childhood sweethearts. Liwei and Ming soon arrived at Yan's house. The moment they stepped inside, the household helper rushed to them, panicked. She told them she was not even sure Yan was still alive, as she had been crying uncontrollably and had suddenly gone silent. Alarmed, Ming and Liwei rushed upstairs to her room. They stood outside the locked door as Ming knocked and begged her to open it, but there was no answer. Liwei stepped forward, his voice calm but firm, telling her to open the door because he wanted to talk to her. At the sound of his voice, there was sudden movement inside. The door slowly unlocked, and Yan appeared, her eyes swollen and red from hours of crying. She told Liwei to come in. He walked in carefully, his eyes scanning the broken items scattered around the room, before settling on her. He asked if she was all right. Yan, her voice raw, demanded to know if he truly cared for her. Because if he did, how could he take someone else after once declaring that his heart was closed to love? She accused him of not even being able to wait a few months before moving on. Moving closer, she told him that at the very least, he could say that it was not serious and that it meant nothing. That, she said, she could understand. Liwei remained composed as he told her that he had made it clear long ago that she should not wait for him, that things had changed, and that they were no longer 16. They were adults now. Tears welled again as Jan asked if there was truly another woman in his life. She lost her composure, pressing him, demanding to know who it was. She accused him of having feelings for Momo, saying she had seen the way he looked at her, and it was obvious. Liwei, still calm, told her that it did not matter who it was. What mattered was that she needed to move on and stop clinging to the past, because doing so would only destroy her further. He urged her to calm herself and stop worrying those around her. As he turned to leave, Jan grabbed his shirt, her desperation spilling out as she asked if his feelings had changed because she had once pressured him into going out 10 years ago, the night his family home burned while he was with her. Liwei froze, his back to her, his expression changing. Yan, her voice trembling, insisted that it had never been her intention. She had not known his house would burn, and she pleaded for him to at least see the positive side, that she had saved him that night. Abruptly, Liwei turned to face her, his gaze sharp. He told her it was strange, because he had never once said anything regarding that. He reminded her that she had pressured him into going out, insisted that they must go together, and suddenly, while he was gone, his house exploded. His words cut deeper as he leaned in, his eyes piercing into hers, asking if perhaps she had known something, if she was hiding the truth. Jan, panicked, denied it, insisting she only wanted to spend time with him. She clung to his hand, pleading with him to remember their shared memories and not discard them so easily. Liwei shoved her hand away, his voice icy as he warned her that this would be the last time he told her to move on. If she ever pulled such a stunt again just to get his attention, he would not be as lenient as he was now. With that, he walked out, leaving Yan standing there in shock before her knees gave way. She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. Ming rushed in immediately, kneeling beside her and asking if she was all right. Between her sobs, Yan cried that it was truly over, that Liwei did not even deny having another woman in his life. Ming, his tone soft, told her that he feared Liwei had erased her from his heart, and that she needed to do the same. Yan, her voice broken, admitted that she loved Liwei too much, that she wished she did not, because maybe then it would be easier to let go as he had. Ming wiped away her tears gently, promising that he would help her and stay by her side. Yan looked at him through tear-filled eyes and said that she knew the woman was Momo. She claimed she had seen the way he looked at her and swore that Momo would pay for it, that she would regret ever going behind her back to be with Liwei. Ming tried to explain that it was not Momo, but Yan refused to listen, accusing him of protecting Liwei because they were friends. Her expression hardened as she repeated her vow to make Momo regret it. Ming pulled her into his arms, telling her to calm down, warning that such stress would only harm her health. Meanwhile, back at Liwei's house, Amara sat lost in thought, her mind spinning with the entire situation. She could not stop thinking about Jan and the pain she must be going through. She understood her all too well. Waiting 10 years for someone only to be tossed aside was crushing. Amara could not help but blame herself, feeling that if she had known, she would never have let herself get so close to Liwei. Jan was a woman too, with feelings. The door opened, and Liwei walked in. Amara immediately stood and went to him. His gaze locked on hers, and he asked what was wrong. Amara told him that she had to leave and return to school. Liwei stepped closer, his eyes holding hers, asking why she suddenly wanted to go. Amara admitted that she had not realized his connection with Jan ran so deep. She said she felt guilty for being the cause of another woman's pain, and if she had known, she would never have allowed things between them to go this far. Liwei's expression changed a bit as he moved even closer, asking if she regretted being with him. Amara shook her head, saying she did not regret it, but she felt awful at the thought of Jan possibly harming herself, knowing she might have played a part in it. She pleaded with him to take her back to school, saying she needed time to think. Leewei looked at her in silence, his expression stern. Without speaking, he stepped forward, lifted her into his arms, and carried her toward his bedroom. Amara tried to resist, but he gently laid her on his bed and settled beside her, holding her tightly in his arms, making it nearly impossible for her to break free. His gaze locked with hers as he leaned closer, his expression unreadable, yet filled with emotions she couldn't understand. He told her that he meant it when he said she was his woman now, that she had managed to break into his guarded heart. There was no way he was letting her go, and that was the consequence she had to face. She was his, the one who occupied a part of himself that he had never given to anyone else. Her heart raced wildly as his words sank in, leaving her struggling to gather her composure. Just as she tried to speak, Leewei pulled her closer and silenced her with a passionate kiss, cutting off her words. Her body, overwhelmed by his touch, betrayed her resistance. She felt her strength fade, melting into his embrace as she kissed him back. When he finally pulled away, his eyes lingered on hers, their gazes locking in a moment charged with unspoken emotions. Then, with deliberate calmness, he leaned closer and asked if she still wanted to return to school. Her emotions swirled inside her, threatening to consume her. Before she could steady herself, his lips pressed against hers again, claiming her in another searing kiss. As he pulled back once more, he asked if she was sure she still wished to leave. Amara, her cheeks burning with heat and her body betraying her, slowly shook her head. A low chuckle escaped him as he drew her closer, pressing his forehead against hers, his piercing eyes holding hers captive. He reminded her that she was his woman, and that when he said those words, he meant them. He then reaffirmed what he had told her about Yan, his tone leaving no room for doubt. Her heart tightened as she searched his eyes, asking if he truly no longer cared for Yan. He told her that he simply no longer felt the same way, and that it was natural, though he still wished for her safety and well-being. His protective nature was not something he could ignore. Then, with a steady gaze, he asked her for one promise. Amara nodded, waiting. He told her never again to say that she wanted to leave or that she needed time to think things through. Smiling faintly, she nodded again and promised she wouldn't. Curiosity flickered in her eyes as she asked what he had wanted to tell her earlier before he left. He hesitated for a moment, then his eyes darkened slightly as he leaned closer. He asked what she would do if she ever discovered that he was ruthless, that he was a monster. Would she leave him then? Her heart trembled, but with gentle courage she reached out and touched his face, telling him that if he was a monster, then he would be her little monster. She promised that she would stay by his side and teach him how to be a good one instead, because not all monsters had to be bad. Her words unsettled him deeply, pulling him in like a force he could not resist. He wondered whether she truly meant it or if she only thought he was joking. Still, he wrapped his arms tighter around her, pulling her close against his chest, and laid her head upon him. He told her they should sleep, reminding her of the promise she made to help him rest. With that, he closed his eyes, still holding her tightly as though letting go was not an option. Amara, staring quietly at his face, couldn't help but wonder what he truly meant when he said there were parts of himself she didn't know. A small smile curved her lips as she silently promised that whatever those parts were, she would stand by him through it all. She could no longer deny the truth in her heart. She loved him, and she could only hope that beneath his cold exterior he felt the same, even if fear kept him from admitting it. The following morning, Momo woke early for her class. As she prepared to leave, she checked her phone, hoping for a message from Amara, perhaps something reassuring, even if it was just a note that she was safe. Instead, Momo recorded a voice note before heading out, telling Amara that she had boiled eggs for her and that she could help herself when she returned. She added, with playful affection, that she hoped Amara had enjoyed her night with her boyfriend, though she warned her not to get too intimate unless he was ready to put a ring on her finger. As Momo walked down the corridors, she suddenly noticed Amara stepping out of a car. Her heart leapt, ready to rush toward her friend, but she stopped, curiosity sparking within her. She wanted to see who this mysterious boyfriend was. Her eyes studied the sleek, luxurious car, and she couldn't help but think that Amara had chosen well, securing herself a wealthy man. The car door opened slowly and Momo stood frozen, anticipation tightening in her chest. But the moment the man stepped out, her entire body stiffened in shock. It wasn't just any man. It was Leewi, the university director. For a moment she thought her eyes were deceiving her, or that she had slipped into some sort of dream. But the truth stood before her, undeniable and unsettling. Momo sat in class, but her mind was elsewhere, spiraling with doubt and confusion. She kept replaying what she thought she had seen. Amara, with Leewi. She questioned herself over and over, wondering if she had imagined it, if it was truly possible that her friend had been secretly dating their university director. The thought burned inside her. All this time, Amara had made it seem like she was seeing someone else entirely. But if it had really been Leewi, then that meant she had been lying all along. Momo's chest tightened as the realization sank in. She had trusted Amara, thought of her as a true friend, someone she could confide in. For Amara to go behind her back, to keep something so big hidden, made her feel like a fool. Anger, betrayal, and heartbreak swirled within her until she could no longer sit still. Without thinking, she grabbed her things and rushed out of the classroom. Once outside, she leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe through the storm of emotions crashing over her. She wanted to confront Amara right then and there, to demand answers. But just as she was about to go looking for her, her phone rang. It was Yan. Momo hesitated before answering. Yan's voice came through, warm and steady, inviting her out for a get-together that evening, just the two of them. Momo's voice was heavy with defeat as she explained she wasn't in the right state of mind and doubted she could make it. But Yan insisted, gently persuading her, telling her that going out would be good, that it would help her feel better. After a moment of silence, Momo finally gave in and agreed. When the call ended, Momo stood frozen with her thoughts. At least Yan was genuine, she told herself. At least Yan treated her like a real friend. Unlike Amara, who had been smiling in her face all this time while keeping such a secret. The thought stung, but she convinced herself that meeting Yan later would be good for her. An escape, a distraction. With that, she decided against confronting Amara and quietly returned to class. Meanwhile, Leewi sat in his office, her words from the previous day echoing relentlessly in his mind. Amara had told him he should try to be softer with her. He kept replaying that single request, wondering if he was truly that cold. For the first time in a long time, he questioned himself. He opened his laptop and began searching for ways to be gentle with a woman, scrolling carefully through articles that explained gestures of affection, warmth, and romance. He read slowly, taking notes, his usually stern expression softening into thoughtfulness. Many suggestions spoke of intimate dates, simple gestures that showed care. As he scribbled down ideas, his assistant walked in, informing him that his schedule was clear for the day and asking if he wanted to add any activities. Leewi sat silently for a moment before looking up and instructing him to book a table for two at Sky Towers, one of the city's most luxurious restaurants with a breathtaking view. The assistant immediately agreed, promising to arrange it right away. Just as he turned to leave, Leewi stopped him. The assistant turned back, waiting. Leewi cleared his throat and, after a pause, asked if he thought he was too cold. The assistant hesitated, searching for the right words, clearly surprised by the sudden question. Leewi's piercing gaze held him still, demanding honesty. Finally, the assistant responded carefully, saying he wasn't that bad but suggesting he could at least try to smile more often. He added that Liwei wasn't as harsh as he thought, his tone gentle, almost coaxing. Liwei recognized the attempt to soften the truth and smirked faintly before dismissing him. The assistant bowed slightly and left, but as soon as he stepped out, he pulled out his phone. With quick fingers, he sent a message to Li Feng, informing him that Liwei had planned a date that evening with the mysterious woman he had been seeing, even including the location. Satisfied, he slipped the phone back into his pocket and walked away. Later that afternoon, Amara made her way to the lecturer's offices to submit her research and receive feedback from her professor. She waited by the elevator when the doors slid open. Her heart skipped the moment she saw Liwei standing inside. A smile instantly touched her lips as she stepped in, happy for the unexpected chance to see him. Before she could say anything, several people entered as well. The atmosphere shifted into awkward silence. They greeted Liwei respectfully, acknowledging him as the university director. He responded with nothing more than a curt nod, his expression unreadable, his composure perfectly intact. Amara stood beside him, acutely aware of how suffocating the situation felt. She wanted to speak, to laugh, to ask how his day was, but all she could do was glance at him, aching at the distance they had to maintain. He didn't so much as look at her, his gaze fixed forward, his aura cold and controlled as always. Her heart tightened, wishing things could be different, that she could hold his hand freely like any other couple. Just as she was drowning in that longing, she felt the faintest brush against her hand. Her breath caught. Slowly, his fingers slid against hers, deliberate and secretive. Without hesitation, she closed her hand around his, their fingers intertwining discreetly. A rush of warmth flooded her chest, her heart hammering wildly as he continued to hold her hand in silence, his thumb tracing soft patterns against her skin. She blushed furiously, fighting the smile tugging at her lips, stealing glances at him. His face remained calm, cold, as if nothing was happening, but his grip was steady and unrelenting. In that moment, she wanted to throw herself into his arms, kiss him, confess how much she missed him. But all she could do was cling to the secret intimacy they shared in that crowded elevator. When the doors opened and it was his stop, he stepped out without a word. But just before leaving, he slipped a small folded note into her palm, his fingers brushing hers one last time before walking away with his usual composure. Amara stood frozen, heat rushing to her cheeks. She glanced down at the note, her heart racing as she unfolded it. Written in his neat, controlled handwriting was an invitation. He wanted her to meet him at her lab that evening. He wanted to take her on a date. Her lips curled into a smile she couldn't contain. A small giggle escaped her, bright and uncontrollable, making the people around her glance her way. Embarrassed, she quickly tried to mask it, pressing her lips together, but nothing could stop the joy flooding through her. He was romantic in his own quiet way, and she loved it. Loved how he could be so cold to the world yet so tender and secretively sweet with her.